Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here on this Friday night on BizTV, the Franchising 360 show. I am Tim Parmeter, and with me as always is...
Danielle Wright. Whoa.
Look at that. We added words to the wave.
I know, because you did normally say my name.
Last week we went from hello to hi.
And then you paused. It's like, did you forget my name for a minute? Did you need me to remind you what it was?
I was looking at my card. Where is that?
You paused. You never paused.
Damn.
But what are we here for there, Tim Parmeter?
I think something franchise related.
It's called the Franchising 360 show, yes?
What do we do on the franchising?
I don't know. That's all you.
I thought you were going to keep going with this. No, we're here to take a 360-degree look at franchising. Help basically you get properly educated on this whole crazy thing that is franchising. And we have another guest rolling in tonight.
We're doing really well on the guest situation.
I know.
Do you know why that benefits me?
I do. And I also know I got a surprise for you next time we have a guest coming on.
Oh, yeah. You're going to flip the tables, aren't you?
Yes.
I don't do well with flipping tables. I'll flip them back.
Really? Well, it'll be more of a joint effort moving forward.
That's fine.
But the one thing we've learned to count on and love is Danielle's Friday night franchise fun fact. So what do you got for us tonight?
I got a good one for you.
Do you?
Yeah. It actually involves a franchise.
Okay.
Because last week it didn't. The week before it did.
Okay. Ooh. What kind of franchise?
Well, called Bob's Big Boy.
Oh, Bob's Big Boy.
What do you know Bob's Big Boy for?
Bob's Big Boy. I really thought we were going with baseball today, so I'm a little disappointed.
No.
So Bob's Big Boy is turned into something. Like he's got the thing.
So in the week of April 11th, 1963.
Okay. I still was not born.
Not born
don't
yet?
Go there.
Really?
No.
Close? Pretty close.
No. Not anywhere
Same-six
near.
range, yes? Okay, just checking. Bob's Big Boy opened its 18th, wait for it, coffee shop.
Okay.
It's not what I thought Bob's Big Boy was.
No, what did you think Bob's Big Boy was?
I thought it was a burger restaurant.
I thought it was like a Denny's type of thing.
You're probably more accurate.
Right, and Bob's Big Boy turned into something.
There you go.
Okay. So we're going to...
But the fun fact is it opened its 18th in 1963, people.
Wow.
Like, franchising was alive and well in 1963.
And on one of our very first shows, we talked about the very first franchise,
which was not food.
No, singer, right? The sewing. So that was there, and then we get it onto the food. We don't have food today. We've got we've got the scary, sometimes overwhelming piece.
No. Needed.
Okay.
It holds accountable.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Who's the guest?
We have a guest. We have a franchise attorney coming on to talk about. I know, but this is the time of year when what's the phrase we hear?
What time of year is that, Tim?
That would be the spring. It's April 11th. It's the Masters this weekend.
Is it?
The Final Four was last week. Baseball season's underway.
I have a really great Masters sweater.
I am pretty sure
it says Masters on it.
Chicago Cubs are on their way to win another World Series.
Okay. So baseball is.
There's all of that.
Yep.
But it's also in franchising. It's the going dark period where they're renewing.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know it sounds scary and ominous, but we're going to find out if it is or not.
But it's good. It protects people. I look at a dark period as like it gives everybody an opportunity to just stop,
take a breath,
pause, and all of the things, reevaluate, and move forward.
And make sure everything's up to date and
accurate. Right. Because you don't want to go buy a franchise and it's all
Well, we don't need our guests then.
disheveled.
We got it all figured out.
No. They go to school. They spend a lot of money, probably owe a lot of student loan debt, all of those things. I do not want to be. I love to fight the argument. Let's go. But I don't want to be the person doing the stuff.
We've got a guest coming on to talk to us a little bit about not just the FDD, but that renewal and what happens every year. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, she's actually a colleague of mine. We met through the Women's Franchising Network. So if you're a female watching this or a male, we don't really, it's all inclusive up in here. But if you're in a market and you want to get to know franchise professionals and want to support entrepreneurs, join your network, reach out to the International Franchise Association.
Yep.
They have a site for that, and you can find a group in your local community that you can be a part of.
And if you're in Philadelphia, it'll be our guest. If you're in Tampa, it'll be this lovely lady right here. So
right here.
Our guest is coming up next here on the Franchising 360 show when we return. And welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. And now joining us from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is Megan Center. And Megan is the partner for a super well-known a legal firm called Quarles Brady. Megan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We have a bunch to talk to you about, and resist the urge to bill me, right? Because I know that's the whole attorney thing. But we want to talk about the FDD. It's spring, which means flowers are blooming and FDDs are getting renewed and going dark, and that sounds ominous. But give us a little Megan scoop. How'd you kind of get to be an attorney and kind of get into this whole franchise side of things?
Yeah, great. My mom tells me from a very young age, I always had an argument or a response to everything that she said. And from a very young age, I apparently liked the art of the negotiation, and I liked to give my opinion on things. So from a very young age, I knew I kind of wanted to be engaging in that way, and went right from undergrad to law school. I'm from Ohio originally. Ended up out here about 13 years ago, moved out here during a time when there were not a lot of legal jobs anywhere, frankly. So on a whim, I applied to a franchise boutique firm, knew I always wanted to end up on the transactional side of things. And this happens to be just a really wonderful combination of regulatory work, drafting work, day-to-day work with brands. And then also I've gotten exposure and a lot of work within the mergers and acquisition space, mainly due to the fact that the franchise industry has become incredibly prone to acquisition by private equity. So my practice is a little bit divided right now, but I absolutely love this industry. I love the work that I do. I'm very lucky. I love my clients, and I love helping people work through these dark periods.
Excellent. And so, when you were little and you knew this is, hey, maybe I'm good at arguing. How did that actually work out with your mom? Did you win many of those, or like has your record gotten better? I guess we'd want us to figure out.
I actually did do really well with my mother, but I also now make my children make an argument for if they want to do something. If they want more screen time, they have to give me an argument that I'm willing to listen to in order to get more screen time. So I might be training the next
to get more
generation.
Screen time. Nice.
I do. It's really
Excellent.
fun. I know.
So how did was there any sort of purpose in getting into the franchise side of law, or did that just kind of happen?
It's an accident. I think a lot of people that I talk to within this industry don't necessarily know when they are out of it how large it is, right, and how fulfilling it is. I really do enjoy working with our entrepreneur clients because they're entrepreneurs in that they've developed all these different kinds of businesses and now are expanding into this new life. And I get to learn their story, help them tell their story, and kind of be an entrepreneur again within this additional space. So that's probably one of my favorite parts of this industry.
Do you guys work with franchisors, franchisees? Do you work with both? What's that look like?
Franchisors. Yeah, just mainly on the franchisor side. We will do a little bit of franchisee review work, maybe multi-unit, large-scale franchisees, but mainly on the franchisor side.
Gotcha. Okay, and then and we had talked, and I'm sure Megan, like most people watching tonight, you've watched every single episode of the Franchising 360 show, and we did talk about a little high level the FDD in the past, but maybe somebody, shame on them, missed that episode. What the heck is an FDD?
Great question. The FDD is an acronym for the Franchise Disclosure Document. The FTC rule, the Federal Trade Commission issued the FTC rule on franchising, which outlines the contents of the disclosure document. There are 23 items in the franchise disclosure document that outline everything from the initial fee that the franchisee has to pay to the franchisor to how much it costs to open, to even a financial performance representation that outlines how much money you could make in certain circumstances. So it is a voluminous document that contains everything that you need to know about the franchise offering. And attached to that is the actual binding franchise agreement, which is the agreement that will govern the operation and the parties' relationship on an ongoing basis.
Gotcha. And I was going to try to Google what the heck voluminous means, but I don't have my phone, nor do I know how to spell it anyway. But these are really big documents, right? Like we're talking several hundred pages, so they can be a little intimidating for folks taking a look at them.
But I mean, I tell my clients on the franchisor side, you should always advise your franchisees to have an attorney review this document. It is an incredibly dense document, and it is incredibly important to understand exactly the intricacies of how this franchise relationship will work. It's only going to work if both parties go in with their eyes open and their brains full of all of this knowledge about how this new business venture will operate.
Yep. So I want to a couple of quick little things within the FDD, but then I really want to get into like kind of this renewal period that everybody in franchising is coming up to. So when we come back with Megan Center, we're going to talk a little bit more about the FDD and this renewal piece here on the Franchising 360 show when we come back. And we are back here on the Franchising 360 show. Thanks for joining us on this wonderful Friday night to talk to Megan Center from Quarles and Brady about the franchise disclosure documents. And during the break, I actually Googled voluminous, and it means big. So thanks for helping me learn something else this evening. Let's actually talk about this renewal thing. And so every franchise has to have this FDD, but it's not kind of a one-time thing. Like, talk about kind of what happens on the regular every year with these suckers.
Absolutely. So under the FTC rule itself, at a minimum, a franchisor has to update their FDD on an annual basis within 120 days of their fiscal year end. Many companies obviously operate on a calendar year, so that is why this is usually the time for renewals, because everyone has to update their FDD under the FTC rule by the end of April. Setting aside the state component, because in addition to a requirement to update under the FTC rule, there are states that require you to register your offering prior to the offer or sale of a franchise within that state. Sometimes the timing of which you have to update those applications is slightly different than the timeline for the end of April. So you have to be mindful of that as well.
Gotcha.
In addition to the normal requirement, you're also required to update upon a material change in the circumstances. So think if someone from your exec leadership team leaves, if there's a substantial drop in the number of units, those are things that you again would have to update even during the mid-year before the requirement to update on the annual basis.
Gotcha. Okay, so we know that every year these are going to be updated, which is making sure that as a prospective franchise owner, you're getting as fresh as possible of information. Is that kind of the thought behind this, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that this is a living, breathing document. You can even think of over the last 5 years how much technology has changed every different kind of franchise business. So there needs to be updates to that. I mean, particularly needs to be updates to the number of units within the system, needs to be update to the financials of the franchisor entity. These are all things that are not a stagnant part of the franchise system, and you need to understand exactly where the franchise system stands at that point in time.
So anything that's in an FDD from a financial standpoint, because these are 200 plus page documents, sometimes more, probably most people when they're first looking at this are going to a couple of the items in there that talk about the money versus all of the legalese. We'll talk about where that information comes. Like, is the franchisor just making it up? I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to cost this much, or you're going to be able to make this much. Where does that information actually come from?
Very good question. So the fees under the franchise agreement are pulled exactly from that agreement. But when we're talking about how much it costs to open, what I advise my clients to do, obviously start from what you know, start from the research that you can do, start from your corporate owned units so you can understand exactly how much it costs to open your corporate units. Now, it may be a little bit different than what a franchisee will incur, but it's a very good starting point, especially for newer systems that don't have any units upon which to get this information.
Right.
I tell my clients to look at item 7 on an annual basis, take the franchisee data for the units that opened during that year, compare it against the table that you are disclosing in that item, and make sure it's still consistent with what your franchisees are experiencing. So that's the initial cost to open. Yep. And then obviously the second question that everyone has is, how much money am I going to make? So that's item 19. And that is the only place that a franchisor is permitted to disclose financial performance data of either its currently operated, the corporate units, or once it has its franchise units open, those franchise units.
Right. So there's the information that's coming from what their current franchise owners have actually experienced, rather than the franchisor just taking a big guess, right? So when this renews every year, you're getting fresh data on that, so people can take a look to see what the performance has been like, good, bad, or indifferent of their franchise owners, right?
Absolutely. There is an option under item 19 to put together a projection, but it has to be based on historical data. So it's really, I don't advise it, because I'm more conservative. I think it's too risky, and you're better off just disclosing the actual data and the actual results of your current units.
So when these things are getting renewed, there's a phrase that gets bounced around in franchising sometimes. Again, it sounds a little ominous, like, oh, we're going dark. Like there should be a dun, dun, dun. How long does that typically, and they go, we're getting into two things. There's what's called registration and non-registration states, but are we looking at that's going to happen in a couple of minutes, couple weeks, couple months? What's that typically look like?
Yeah. So there's the federal dark period is going to be if you are not able to issue your FDD within that 120-day window. So if you do not issue your FDD by April 30th, you are no longer permitted to offer and sell a franchise until you get that FDD up and running, because your FDD has become stale. Right. So that's on the federal side. So that's in the non-registration states. And on the state registration side, it's very similar. There is a dark period within which, once you submit your application to these states, you have to wait until it has been approved in that state prior to you being able to offer and sell a franchise within that state. So there's two analogous dark periods that we're working with here. And the length at which of each of these things really depends on, I'll give you a lawyer answer, depends on the circumstances. It depends on when you're filing your FDD within these states. If you're filing it May 1st, after everyone else has filed by April 29th and April 30th, you are last in line, and you are going to be waiting a long time in states like New York and Minnesota and California, and states that have already begun the process of working with clients or working with brands that have already sent in their applications.
Gotcha.
So for those states, you're looking at 90 to 100 days, 90 to 120 days maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to come back with a couple more things on the FDD with Megan Center from Quarles and Brady when we come back here on the Franchising 360 show. And we are back on the Franchising 360 show. Thanks for coming back with us. Megan Center from Quarles and Brady talking about the FDD, the franchise disclosure document, and this renewal piece that happens every year, required by the Federal Trade Commission for this to happen. Sometimes, Megan, we work with clients that are looking at FranCoach, that are looking at franchises, and sometimes there's almost the feel that, ooh, wait, what's wrong? Is this a red flag that the franchise is is there's a period where maybe they have to pause or not? It's not really a red flag. It's just helping make it kind of ensure all the best and the most up-to-date information is there. Would that be accurate to say?
Yeah, that's a very good way to frame it. It really is. It's actually showing that the franchisor is doing its best to be compliant with applicable law, particularly under those states where the registration is required. So I would not view it as a red flag at all. I think it's a green flag to demonstrate that the franchisor is committed to making sure that the prospect has the most up-to-date data.
I like how you put that. Are there any restrictions? Say I'm talking to a franchisor and they're going through this renewal process. Is there any restrictions on what we can do at that point?
So what I typically recommend is, once you go dark in a certain state, that's kind of when you have to turn off all of the activity and all of the conversation with that person. But all of the conversation around the FDD itself and the terms of the offer. So what you can still talk about is everything else your brand stands for. You can talk about the values of your brand. You can talk about why you think that this is a good thing for them to work through, and success stories. And you can even direct them to your website to look at the data that's on the website, talk to the franchisees that are in the system right now. There's nothing that's preventing the franchisees from talking to them.
So kind of if you're towards the end and you haven't, and they're about to go, quote, go dark, and you haven't signed that franchise agreement or you haven't been awarded, you do have to, like, you can't do that in the dark period. You've got to wait until the new one comes out. But again, I like how you said it's more of a green flag versus a red flag, because it means the brand's doing things the correct way, right?
And absolutely. And there are different mechanisms to proceed with someone. And I hesitate to advise anyone. I work with my clients and I advise them, it's not a hard stop, no matter what. It's a come to me and talk to me about these things. What is this prospect? What is their financial status? How much are they investing? Different things that we can look at in order to hopefully be able to continue the conversation.
And so I appreciate all of that. So it's really not as this big scary thing. It just shows that the franchises are actually doing everything the right way per kind of the rules and everything laid down by the Federal Trade Commission, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The FTC and the applicable state laws. I mean, if you are disclosed with an FDD on May 3rd, 2025, that was issued before April 30th, 2025 , that's technically not allowed. That's not, you don't want to work with someone that does not, that's not someone that you want to invest your life savings in.
And really quick, easy, I'm lobbing one in for the last question. Hey, I think I want an attorney to review all this. I can just use any old attorney, right? Like, my cousin that does auto accidents is totally fine, right? And of course not. We need a franchise attorney, correct?
Of course. I mean, there are so many nuances to this industry. Like I said, this document can be 500-600 pages. And for a contract lawyer that doesn't have any experience within the industry to see the terms of the agreement and to try and go back and forth, I think it's a huge waste of money. Yes. A franchise attorney will know the buttons to push for the franchisor. They'll know kind of what's standard within the industry. And ultimately, I can't guarantee anything, of course, but I think will ultimately save you a lot of money and get you a very good deal and understanding of what's in that disclosure document.
Yeah, you don't go to your general practitioner doctor for the brain surgery, right? So you're going to the
That's exactly right.
Same thing
absolutely
here. So awesome, Megan. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, joining us, talking a little bit about the FDD and this renewal period. I greatly appreciate it.
Of course, I'm happy to do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And thanks as always, everybody tuning in to the Franchising 360 show. I will look forward to seeing you next Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, right here on BizTV. Until then, we will see you on the Franchising 360 show. Check us out at YouTube, francoach.net as well. We'll see you next Friday night. Thanks so much.